Joining us now, Scott Taylor. Scott, running for Congress, 2nd District of Virginia. I feel very good about this race against Elaine. Luria is under attack. Luria's negatives are so high, she's got to run all these phony negative ads accusing Taylor of all kinds of things. Some of the ads are despicable, but I think they're backfiring because they turn me off. And, she hasn't done crap, and nobody sees her. She doesn't even campaign. And Taylor's going to beat her. But negative ads work to a certain extent, but when they're lies and it's over the top, they backfire. And I think that's what's going to start to happen right now in the 2nd District. Also, I want to thank Scott Taylor for allowing us to do our award-winning, worldwide watched election night show. That is going to be from the Westin Hotel at the Town Center in Virginia Beach, starting at 6 p.m. on November 3rd. We're going to be covering all of the Virginia races, plus we're going to be covering, obviously, the national race. We don't expect the winner to be declared, so we're going to the Westin, and Scott was very gracious in accommodating us and getting us all set up. And as you know, we like to go where we think the winners are, so we think the best shot for a takeover is going to be Taylor in the 2nd. I also think Nick Freitas is going to win the 7th, but we're going to Taylor's in the Westin. Scott, great to have you with us, and thanks for accommodating us on election night. We're going to have a monster audience that night. Thank you.
Of course, John. It's great to be with you and your listeners, and we would want you no other place on election night than at the Westin in Virginia Beach.
Oh, great answer. I love that. We're also going to go live on video. We're going to be testing that out. That'll make Saxman happy because Saxman likes to get it. He thinks he's like some kind of an electric figure. So you always got to do. First thing he asked me, are we doing video live? I'm like, well, what is this thing with your video? No, we got to do video for Saxman. So we're going to be able to accommodate him with that. And, whatever it takes. Scott, these ads that Luria running are really pissing me off because they're not true. They keep saying you're accused of wrongdoing and you're still under investigation. That's all false. They already said you were not a target. Can you clarify these fake ads for us?
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of them. Obviously, they say I hate puppies and ice cream and babies and all kinds of stuff. It's insane. Let me preface this by saying if you were a private person, a private citizen, not a public figure like me, and Elaine Luria did an ad like that, you'd be making millions of dollars off suing her. But obviously, as a public figure, the burden's a lot higher, and they can essentially say almost what they want. Elaine Luria has known for and so has Democrats, probably some of them listening today, they've known for over 2 years that I was not involved, had no knowledge of any wrongdoing, not the subject of any investigation. They know that, but that's all they have. Elaine Luria, there's all kinds of ads. That's just one. That's just one ad, as you said. And we saw this in the polling data that Elaine Luria is not well liked. She has a low approval rating. She tried going up in the air in June to bump up her positives and make her look like she was, some superwoman or something, and it didn't work. It didn't work at all. So we see in the data that her only path to victory is to disqualify me, which is why these ads have been so nasty, and it's been the nastiest race in Virginia. And she's going to continue to do that because that's her only path to victory. But it's, as you said, there's diminishing returns after a while. She certainly did bump up my negatives, but she still has higher negatives. People still like her less. So it's not working for her.
The bottom line is, have you been indicted for anything?
I haven't even been accused of wrongdoing. So let's look at Senator Louise Lucas, who has been charged with 2 felonies, and there's a video out there of her doing it, charged with 2 felonies. Now, of course, under American law, she's still innocent until proven guilty, right? Period. Mm-hmm. I'm not even accused of any wrongdoing at all. So it's not even the same thing. And Elaine Luria has done just what she did with the president, where she disgracefully used her uniform to justify an empty impeachment without seeing any evidence. She tried and convicted him right then, months before anything. It's the same. It's essentially the same thing. There's a pattern there.
You've done nothing wrong. You're not even a target of the investigation. The special counsel said you are not even being questioned. You are not a target of the investigation. So they're still running ads making believe you've done something wrong. That's number one. Number two, basically what they're doing is this. Scott Taylor, are you still beating your wife? And your answer is, well, I'm sorry, I'm single. I don't have a wife. Yes, but if you did have a wife, you'd beat her, right? I mean, that's basically this line of ads. And it's disgusting to me what they're doing to you. but it's going to backfire because what is her record? Look, I'm not a fan of Luria's, Congressman Luria, but to be honest, what has she done? She impeached the president. She voted with AOC. She voted with Pelosi. She said she wasn't going to do that. Give me one accomplishment this woman has done.
Her biggest thing, what she basically, it's not an accomplishment at all. She tries to embellish what she's done, and she's like, for example, Blue Water veterans, getting them the help that they need, ones that were exposed to Agent Orange that weren't getting benefits. Well, that's been people have been working on that for years. I sent a letter on that in 2017, but she tries to claim credit as though she did it. It's not obviously her, and her, she doesn't have any accomplishments, and she's been absent, she's been unaccountable in this district, and she's certainly been ineffective. And people haven't seen her in 2 years, except for now on their YouTube and they listen to her on the radio and the TV. She's everywhere now. The first time I saw her, John, on this whole campaign was 2 nights ago. And I don't think she knew I was going to be there. It was at a civic league in Pembroke. But we haven't seen her anywhere. She's nowhere. Everything, any place that she goes at all is completely controlled, and it's a few select people, and that's it. This was the first time I've seen her. And we do have a couple debates coming up next week. Finally, it took us 2 months to pressure her and to gain pressure from the community to say, hey, look, you're not entitled to win in an election. You're a representative. You're the same as everybody else. We're just sending you there to represent us in our place. So it took us 2 months to get her to agree to debate, and then she pushed them as far as possible to the end, as close to election as possible. As there's already been like 3 Senate debates.
That's because a million people in Virginia has already voted. She didn't want to expose herself. Now, you've got one debate coming up on October 22nd. That's by the Hampton Roads Chamber, I believe, a luncheon. That is at...
We have one other one on the 20th at 7 p.m. WTKR is going to be broadcasting it. No, there will be no one there. And then, of course, as you said, the 22nd at 12 by the Chamber. Well, she wouldn't talk to the Chamber for 2 months. They told me. Like she wouldn't respond to them for like 2 months, and until we pressured her to do so.
So on the 20th, WTKR TV, they're running a debate between yourself and Elaine, Luria, but there's nobody there, right? That's like a virtual thing?
Yeah, just broadcast at 7 p.m.
All right, at 7 p.m. We will cover that obviously on TV because you can't go because of what they're doing with COVID. But then the one that I am going to attend, Ann and I will be at the debate on the 22nd at the Chamber, which is a luncheon debate, I think somewhere in Virginia Beach. So we'll look forward to that one, and I'll get somebody to cover that. Thanks for reminding me. I'll get somebody down there now on the John Fredericks Radio Network and the Virginia Star. Go to thevirginiastar.com for great coverage on that. Scott, let's talk about the key issues for Scott Taylor now. When people are evaluating what to do in the 2nd District, what are the 2 or 3 key differences in policy, things that you're going to do that Elaine is on the opposite end? Give me the top 2 or 3 issues here.
Number one, effectiveness on appropriations committee. Virginia, of course, 40% of our economy has to do with direct federal spending. You got to have a seat at that table. I will be there with seniority going back there. That will enable me to get things like the Veterans Hospital that needs to be built on the south side with the fastest growing veteran population in the nation, female veteran population nation. So that's one of the things. The second thing is certainly, you mentioned it a little earlier, law enforcement. I'm endorsed 90% of the Fraternal Order of Police. The members voted for me. That's more than any candidate in this cycle at all, because they know that I believe in law and order. I believe that if you don't have the rule of law, then you don't get equality and justice, and I've seen it firsthand in countries like Yemen. So that's another piece of it. Taxes is also a huge one, right? They want to repeal the tax cuts that I voted for. President signed into law, which is about average $1,400 per household. A family of 4 in our district. She wants to repeal that and then put the Biden tax plan in place. That would essentially increase the taxes of everyone. No one's escaping it, including corporations who have been hit hard in this this pandemic. So those are a few things that are like very clear differences. And then Second Amendment. There's protecting the unborn. There's a tremendous amount of difference in who we are as people, ideologically speaking, and how we'll vote.
Scott Taylor with us. Scott Taylor running for Congress, 2nd District in Virginia. That'll be decided November 3rd. He's up against incumbent one-term Congresswoman Elaine Luria. She defeated Taylor in 2018. She's running a lot of negative ads. You know what her negative ads remind me of, really, is the end of your primary campaign in 2016. I guess it was like May or June in 2016, where Randy Forbes was running one negative ad after the other, just filling up the airwaves with it because he had all that money to spend. I thought when he went on TV, the race was relatively close, maybe 5. You ended up beating him by like 12. I mean, you clobbered him. And I really think they backfired. I thought they were so negative and so bad, and there were so many of them, and they spent so much money on it that, people just tune them out. And I think you can get to the point of no return and they backfire. I really think that's happening here. Tell us about your ground game.
Our ground game is second to none. And John, you've known me for years. I'm never outworked, period.
Yep.
We've been, number one, on social media, of course, I have about 12 times the reach as her. And we just did a social media an analyst. It's about 4 times how, organically our reach than hers. We've been knocking doors for months now. I personally been knocking doors. I didn't do it in the primary, but I did it starting a couple months ago, and it's been fantastic. We've hit tons and tons of doors. We're, of course, doing all the other stuff like calls and mailers. When we're out everywhere we were doing events. We put a pause when the president tested positive, but we'll be doing those again. I got an event tonight, actually, in Williamsburg. So we're just like I always do. I work my butt off. I get in front of people. I stand up on a chair. I answer questions for an hour or more, whatever they want to do, whatever questions they want to ask, I answer anyone. So we're running circles around them on the ground game. There's no question about that.
Look, nobody's going to outwork you, Scott Taylor. I know that much about your campaign, but we need a victory in the 2nd District. I think Trump is going to get reelected. If we can flip the 2nd and the 7th, it's going to send a huge message and perhaps even make a difference in the Republicans taking back the House. I know nobody's talking about that, but there's a lot of races right now that Republicans are running very close to Democrats in the Trump districts that they won across the country. We look at these numbers every day, and it wouldn't be a shocker to me if the Republicans actually took the House back, Scott, because a lot of these races are within 3. The margin of error, the Democrats have the lead, but they're not known in the district. Trump's going to carry it, and it's really tough. It's like in your district, Trump's going to carry the 2nd, no question. So then somebody would have to say, okay, I'm going to vote for Trump for president to reelect him, and then I'm going to go down here and vote for Elaine Luria, who voted to impeach the guy that I'm voting for. How does that make sense?
You're not going to get the Luria Trump voters are going to be negligible at best. There's not going to be hardly any of them. There will be some Biden Taylor votes. The last cycle, 2018, there were 16,000 people who voted for Tim Kaine and me. So we'll get crossover. I just don't think she's going to get crossover. The president, like you said, I believe is going to win this district again. He won by 4 last time. And obviously, if he wins it, that puts me in a very, very strong position because we'll get some crossover as well.
Scott, Amy Coney Barrett, I know you've watched some of the hearings. First reaction?
Brilliant. She's brilliant. She's super smart. She was just fantastic. Every time I saw her, number one, I saw ridiculous questions like asking, like the senator from Hawaii asking her if she's ever committed sexual assault, like just crazy stuff.
Unbelievable.
But I thought that she was poised. I thought she was brilliant. Everything that she was, she wasn't reading off of anything like the senators themselves were. I mean, I just thought she was fantastic. And I'm looking forward to her being on the Supreme Court.
John Fredericks Radio Network. I think she's going to be a fabulous judge. Just looking at the grace that she has and how she's handled some of these ridiculous questions, as you just said, is going to be very, very interesting. Let me get a text question in here. Stan in Virginia Beach says, hey, I want to vote for Scott, but if he wins, what can you ask Scott, what are your plans to be available for constituents in local offices? I've called Elaine's campaign offices. Well, you don't call the campaign offices, but I know what he means. I've called her offices many times. She's never available for anything. I haven't gotten any help with any of the issues I need.
Well, I feel that upsets me. It really upsets me that he hasn't gotten help. It's something that we prided ourselves on. Elaine Luria's constituent services, and for your listeners out there, that's navigating the government through the VA or Social Security or Medicare or the IRS. You've been beating your head against the wall. You've been making phone calls. You haven't got anything done. You go to your congressional representative to help you, and they're supposed to do it. Elaine Luria has the worst constituent services in Virginia, possibly the country. I mean, they're really bad. It means that hundreds of folks, if not thousands, just like your listener, is not getting help that they need. And it really, really upsets me. We were night and day difference. She was like a fraction of the output that we were able to help people. We did a good job there. We'll always be accessible. It's something that we pride ourselves in, helping people. That is the bread and butter of representation. And in terms of me being around, I'm always out and about in the community, and that won't change if I'm sent back to Washington.
Scott Taylor, I want to thank you for being with us. People want more information or want to volunteer for your campaign. I know you're very active. Where do they go, Scott Taylor?
ScottTaylor2020.com, ScottTaylor2020.com. This is not about Scott Taylor. It's about all of us. We got to flip this district, flip Virginia, reelect the president. And, I know that there are a lot of people out there who've done a lot of things to help out, but you need to do more. Let's get it done.
Hey, we only got 20 days, right? When the 20 days is going to come and go. So you got 20 days to get involved. I mean, I tell you what, I'm going to Greenville right after my show today to help the president with his rally there. I'm going to put it on the air. I mean, you got to get involved. You got to do whatever you can do because there's only 20 days, and then the window's gone. You don't want to look back and leave anything on the field and said, you know what, Scott won, but we lost Virginia by maybe a point, 2%. Maybe if I did this, called these people, got involved, maybe that would have made a difference. And we need poll watchers. Email Riley.Mahoney@GOP.com. Riley.Mahoney, R-I-L-E-Y, Mahoney@GOP.com. Riley's our deputy for the Trump campaign. She's a super lady. She does a fantastic job. She'll get right back to you. Riley.Mahoney@GOP.com. Email her there. Scott Taylor, thank you for being with us.
John, always a pleasure, brother.